Deep sigh.
A deep Cronenberg sigh.
Yes, yes. Hey man, we still gonna do that ASMR thing with Ash? We gonna put her up to making soothing videos for us or whatever, or soothing like audio.
They're not for us. Yeah. Not for me.
For the public, man. For the public, it's people are stressed. People need something to calm them down. There's a thing I been watching. I'm like literally the only person on the planet watching Quibi right now, but they have a whole show that's just 5 minutes of like some lady being like, and let us go to the spirit bathing forests of Japan where, and it's just like B-roll footage of like soothing nature locations and like, it's very ASMR, like meditation, quote unquote, sort of stuff. But yeah, there's a demand for it, man. It's out there.
We will whore Ash out for ASMR videos. That is on the docket for sure.
And that's not excluding us either, too. I just think we just the dulcet tones of our voices
I don't think,
are not appealing to many.
No, I don't think so. I think Nick probably has the best radio voice out of all of us.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get him on board. But we'll get Ash involved for sure because I think we're gonna have to pivot.
We would have to be like the guys that like the military like uses, when you need psychological torture for someone or whatever. We're like the opposite, anti-ASMR. Like if you have to llisten to these two assholes talk into your ears for like hours on end, it'll drive you crazy or whatever.
They're basically making terrorists listen to us talk about Hold the Dark, probably.
Oh, yeah. That's why we got so many views on that one. It makes sense.
Bro, the CIA, it's the CIA's favorite, bro. Yeah,
but they pulled the Meg, those bastards.
Rest in peace to our Meg review.
The world will never know.
Is it Lionsgate? Is it Legendary Pictures or Lionsgate?
I think it's Legendary because it was definitely a WB movie, and I think Legendary does stuff.
Bastards.
Yeah, those fuckers.
We'll never forget. We'll never forgive.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean.
It's so funny because for the movie itself, I wanted to erase from my memory as quickly as possible, but I cherish the podcast of us bitching about it afterwards. And really, that's what this is all about.
We read a book in preparation for that, for the movie, man. I mean, I'll never forgive them for that.
Thank God, because we would have all of the parallels between the book and the movie. We just never would have been able to follow.
Did you actually read with your eyeballs? You actually read the book?
No, that was one I actually did not. But I had a special reason because I remember. Like I had listened to that was like the first audiobook I had listened to when I was a kid, so I was like specifically like, oh, I want to listen to the audiobook again because I have like weird memories of listening to that like in the car on the way to the beach when I was like 10 or something like that. Such a terrible movie. Like I won't. It's weird because it's like people like I'll get into conversations with people and they'll be like, oh yeah, that movie was kind of dumb, and I was like, no, fuck that movie. Like I'm like weirdly like just full of vitriol about it, and then I'll like afterwards I'll be like, damn, why? I think it's because I read the book and I was like, I understand it was supposed to be a dumb schlocky movie, but like if they just followed the book it would have been like a decent dumb schlocky movie, and like the movie was just all missed opportunities and like like just blatant like corporate product placement and focus grouping and all that sort of shit. It
was brutal. The Chinese government made it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, that was very clear through the whole thing, and that's fine if it's done well. But it felt like there were things that just didn't translate culturally, really. And the biggest sin of the movie for myself personally was like you didn't do the ending of the book, which would have been so much cooler, where you have a main character whose name is effing Jonah. And you don't have him get swallowed up by the shark and like have to like cut his way out. Like it's such a it writes itself for you. It's in the book. It's by far the best part of the book, and they just had like Jason Statham like punch a shark. Like it's.
I think they didn't want to steal the thunder from what's it called, Shark Tornado.
Oh, Sharknado.
I think they did it in Sharknado, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I don't know.
Ian Ziering cut his way out of a damn shark.
But it wasn't a big shark. That's the thing. This is a shark.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Meg.
It wasn't a Meg. There are a lot of things out there, but there's only one Meg. Except
it would have been better if it was directed by Cronenberg.
Oh yeah, totally. Everything would be better if it was directed by Cronenberg.
You guys, I mean, I'll find any excuse to just transition into a Cronenberg rant to get Volpe ranting about Cronenberg before we started recording, because I'm letting we're doing the series where we're not forcing Ash, but movies aren't really we're not coming out, so it's a great opportunity for we're stuck at home, we're watching older movies. Ash had a very depraved childhood. She didn't see any movies. It's like living with an Amish person that I've rescued from a cult.
The Rumspringa that never ended.
Yeah, she basically just her parents weren't deeply religious, but they just didn't want her to experience any of life's joys or mysteries or anything like that. And where Mr. Volpe and I basically were
we were always looking for the weird I heard this effed up indie movie from Japan just came in, and you find it in the right video store.
Absolutely, we just had the polar opposite teenage year experience.
Yeah.
We've been friends since we were 14 years old.
Yeah.
We're going on 20 years, right?
Damn.
And we were out there running around doing God knows what, going to weird indie movie theaters, driving hours out of the way. I think we had, we talked about on one of the podcasts where we went up to this weird cult, drove up a mountain one time.
Yeah. That was a fun time.
Thought we were going to get killed.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to die. Went to a strip club afterwards, tried to recover the night. But we've gone on a lot of weird misadventures. Most of them end up at Denny's at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But very stark contrast to Ash's childhood or teenage years, what have you. So she just hasn't seen a lot of great classic films. I wouldn't say they're great. Who knows? I mean, that's up to you, Mm-hmm. But, she just hasn't seen a lot of these movies. So we're doing a series and all of us are going to join in. Mr. Andrew Volpe, he's gonna dive on a grenade, I'm sure, for us. I will as well. I've just seen a lot of movies. I've just seen so many damn movies that are going to fall. My Venn diagram of what we consider a classic film and things I have not seen, it's just much smaller, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of classic films that Ash has just not seen. So we're kind of revisiting them, checking them out and watching them. We're reviewing them, talking about them, trying to dig into them a little bit, finding out some weird, first one we did was Big, you know what I mean? Just going back through and just talking about all the weird just insanity of Big and how frankly dark and fucked up and disturbing Big is actually. If you dig into,
if you think about it for 2 seconds, the subject matter.
If you think, and so that's what that's where my mind went when we started reviewing it. It's a child who basically starts sleeping with a coworker while his mother is grieving, and he's out partying with another child, out in New York City, and the mother is being called. Imagine Tom Hanks is calling his own mother, trying to remind, you're basically harassing your mom and goading her that you have taken her son.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You're oh, but he's okay. You're gonna get him back. I mean, we go into it. I'll link to it. But it's dark, bro. It's dark. It'll make you rethink. If that's where you wanna. It made me kind of go I haven't seen it in years. Big. Oh yeah, everyone loves Big. And you go back and you watch it and you're like, holy shit,
right.
Dude.
It's funny because there's so many things, especially. I think the 80s was probably the high point of we're gonna market this inherently kind of messed up concept. I feel like people didn't question the subtext of a lot of things that you go back and look at now and you're like, oh my god, what the hell were you thinking there?
I mean, I'm trying to remember the poor actress's name, but the woman who plays the female lead, imagine the psychological trauma and the therapy that you would require if the man that you had fallen in love with, which she clearly does, and you have slept with, reveals to you that he is in fact a child who has somehow taken advantage of a magic machine and has turned big. And he has exploited that in order to have a relationship with you. And he's revealing that to you now. Imagine, my man.
I mean, I think you assume at that point that they've had like a psychotic break, and does that make you a pedophile too? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we didn't go into that as much, but we did talk about how creepy it was that they didn't have any weird problem just getting a motel room, the two of them, like Tom Hanks as an adult and his best friend just casually get a $17 motel room, like no problem. Like no one
so is that an art? Yeah, that would never go in real life, right? Even in the 80s?
They were clearly not related. Not related.
One of those don't ask, don't tell hotel rooms or something, I guess. Or maybe it was like
there's a lot of red flags.
Watch it be like the fucking the hotel room in what was that movie? You Were Never Really Here or whatever, like one of those is actually like a den of horrible, disgusting people or something like that.
Oh, dude, absolutely. It reminded me, and I talked about it. It was like basically like my first apartment in New York was basically like that, where you're in this very small room and you just hear people shouting, sometimes angrily, often in Spanish.
Okay.
And they're just screaming and yelling, and you hear loud noises. You smell, that's New York. You know what I mean? So, good times.
I was gonna say. You make me miss it so badly.
God damn it! Oh man, I tell you, miss that old, Spanish Harlem. Lugging my laundry up and down the street.
I remember. I always remember the times when I visited you, and you'd always like be telling me about like the same homeless guy that you see on the line every day.
Oh yeah, the Mad Bum of Queens.
Yeah, the one I always go back to is like, when I got back to visit you and I didn't get there till like 4 a.m. because somebody got arrested on the train, and then I had to take a piss really bad, and I tried to go to the bathrooms of the Madison Square Garden, and all the stalls.
No, it was Penn Station.
Penn Station, yeah, and all of the stalls were locked because there's probably people shooting up in there and all that other crazy.
Yeah, everyone's tying off. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're either camping out or you're tying off.
Oh man!
Well, what were you thinking? You can't get a stall at 4 a.m. It's occupied.
Yeah, definitely. I just remember the janitor came by after that and he started banging on the door and he was like, "Quit your jerking off in there! Get the fuck out!" Just totally. I don't know. It was a good reminder of the city.
I remember us just walking home. We saw a car accident,
and we definitely saw somebody that had just gotten bottled, like literally.
We
2
saw
minutes
someone
before.
get knocked unconscious. Yeah, it was great. We helped those girls get out of their car. They literally could not walk, and we were like,
"Right,
you guys need like a police escort to get somewhere.
You need an adult,
an adult, someone to come take." Yeah. And then we went to White Castle, which was a horrible choice.
Yeah, that was. I felt bad because I think I built that up. And
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Good.
I just was Harold and Kumar, man. Oh, have you ever had it? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah, me neither. Let's try it, bro. How bad could it be? Oh.
Pretty much the same as in the grocery store.
Just head down your frozen food aisle, ladies and gentlemen, and that's aside from the crinkle cut fries, I think that's probably your experience.
Yeah, I don't know. That was some good marketing by Harold and Kumar. They definitely sold us a very average tiny burger.
Well, there you go. Well, Ash and I were working on Top Gun. We've seen it. We've recorded. That will be coming out at some point. Top Gun, not as controversial, I don't think. I think my most insane moment probably was watching Tom Cruise play beach volleyball in jeans and then not showering, getting on a motorcycle, and then going on a date.
Oh, wow.
He just goes to a woman's house and says, "Hey, I need to get naked in your home so that we can have a date."
I mean, how do you know he didn't squeeze a shower in there at some point?
He says, "I need to take a shower."
Oh, okay.
He literally goes from a volleyball court to a motorcycle to a woman's house and says, "Hey, listen, I know I'm running late. I need to get nude in your home."
I mean, isn't that what you do when you're, I forgot, what's Tom Cruise in that? Is he Iceman or whatever, or is he?
He's Maverick, bro. Come
duh.
on.
Oh, right, that's the name of the new one. Yeah, fucking, yeah, but isn't that what the whole movie is? Isn't the whole movie just basically, like, trying to lay the groundwork for, like, Tom Cruise is the most badass and quote-unquote heterosexual guy ever. And he can crush all the poon.
I think they had a lot of... I think they had a lot of problems because she was like 6 feet tall and he's like 5'4", so...
Yeah, there's a lot of apple boxes in that filming. You know what I mean?
A lot of bare feet, a lot of apple boxes.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's the one. You know, it's funny because you mentioned Big and Top Gun, and I don't know if I've seen, like, you know, I've seen them in chunks on TV, but I've never. Those are definitely both movies that I've never like sat down and like watched more than like little bits and pieces or whatever, and you just kind of like know them through osmosis of pop culture. But yeah, what do you think? Does it hold up, or did you feel like it stands up to its legend or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun just doing some research and finding out that, you know, other than Bruckheimer, you know what I mean, that the other producer who the
guy that died,
Simpson.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was gonna. He's no longer with us.
He OD'd, didn't he, from doing too much blow?
Well, he died like Elvis
on the toilet. Right.
Well, I don't know if he was on the toilet, but he did die in the bathroom from a overdose. But yeah, just learning about the insane production and you know, his absolute, you know, insanity, and, you know, checking into rehab like halfway through the production, and you know, the hookers and the blow
isn't he like somehow I could be getting this wrong. I might be getting like crazy coked up 80s producers mixed up, but I think he might have had something to do with like Steven Seagal getting like to be a name, because I remember Steven Seagal was like somebody's I forgot, what is he, judo? I forgot which martial art he practiced, but like
I think he's I'm trying to remember what fake martial art is.
Obviously
Kempo?
Yeah.
Is it Kempo?
Yeah. It's like something a little bit more specific than like a lot of the other martial arts. But he basically,
is it Aikido?
I think that's it. I think it's Aikido.
I think it's Aikido.
But so he was basically the trainer for one of the coked up producers, and like it was back in the day when literally one guy could be like, "Hey, you know what? I like you. I'm gonna make you a movie star," and then boom, that you get Under Siege. Like he literally came out of nowhere. He happened to be the right guy's instructor. And, you know, thank God, because, you know, really, where would the world be if we didn't have Steven Seagal's amazing talent in the pool as our favorite, like, E-list shitty action star from back in the day?
I think that's what happened to Jean-Claude Van Damme, too. I think he had a story like that, really? Where he was, like, a stunt man or something like that, or he was just barely, like... You know, he was just around because he could do wild, crazy shit, and there's the whole like Predator story where he was the alien for a little while, and like
I'm sure
that whole thing. But
that splits thing, was that always like I feel like that must have been his calling card. Like he was probably like doing the splits in front of like all the powerful people, like, you know, waiting for one of them to be like, "That was cool, you're hired." You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's all you needed.
Yeah, you just need the one thing that looks cool that nobody else can do, and that's like half the work there.
That's it. And then Jackie Chan, he's broken every bone in his body like 18 times.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's got a I mean, like I'm sure they both have commitment, but like nobody will question Jackie Chan. And also like Jackie Chan was like literally like raised to do that since he was like 3 or whatever, right?
Yeah, no, you got to feel for Jackie Chan. But I mean, he's richer than God in China, apparently. So.
I should hope so. I mean, dude, I'm glad he's like kind of calmed down on the working a bit. I don't think he's able to pull off most of those stunts anymore. Has
he done anything since The Foreigner?
I don't think so. At least not like any big American projects, as far as I know. But. Yeah, it's probably good. It's funny because it's like as he's like kind of worked less, there's been like more and more articles of him being like, Yeah, like I like him talking about how he like a lot of the American movies he did, he would be like, well, this doesn't make sense and I don't think it's funny, but sure, whatever. Like I don't think he's like a big fan of the Rush Hour movies or anything like that, and a bunch of his other latter day like output and everything.
What he doesn't look back fondly on Rush Hour?
Yeah, I think I can't remember what it was specifically, but it was definitely like some of the shit towards the end of his career. I think it might have been Rush Hour, but like, yeah, like the the Tuxedo. That's what it was. He was like, I don't know what the hell was going on with the Tuxedo. Like, and that was one that I think famously kind of had huge script problems because when the movie came out, it was about a guy that gets a robotic suit from like a 007 type and becomes a spy, but it was originally supposed to be about like a magic suit. Like it was supposed to be not a spy movie at all, and they rewrote it to be it was originally supposed to be like a magic movie, and like the fact that the final product is so different from that, I don't know, probably speaks to massive script problems during production and stuff like that.
Was that with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sean William Scott?
Oh man, that's I honestly never saw it. No regrets there, but that sounds like
I'm shocked you haven't seen it.
They were definitely like the two celebrities of that era, so it wouldn't be surprised. I know Sean William Scott was in another like a Chow Yun-Fat movie called Bulletproof Monk, which was incredibly forgettable around like the year 2003 or something like that. It's really weird. Like, have you noticed how it's like, as we're finally in 2020 now, like, especially since everyone's being all nostalgic lately, like, it's the Y2K. We're finally at the point in like, I guess, nostalgia culture where we're hitting the 2000s, and it's like, even back then, like, when I was like, in the 2000s, I was like, man, most pop culture is garbage, like, as we were going through it. So the fact that we're looking upon it now with kind of like rosy glasses is almost like I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is the snake eating its tail. Like, we've run out of good stuff to be nostalgic about. So now we're just going to start being nostalgic about the crap. Does that make any sense, or am I just an old man?
Well, what are you hitting on from the early 2000s? What are you seeing?
Well, I'm just thinking of all the shitty, because that era was probably when I feel like often we would go see, like, that's when I would see the most. I would be going to the movies the most for the most forgettable movies, if that makes sense. Like, for, just. Yeah, I can't even think of the specifics, but just there's a lot of like shitty, like She's All That type of movies. You know what I mean? Not even that good. And She's All That I know is a '90s movie, but like shitty high school movie, shitty, like not even your top tier like Fairly Brothers stuff. Just like really, yeah. I can't. I don't know, like The New Guy, which is actually an okay movie, but like. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this tangent. Sorry. I might have just Cronenberg. Okay, so let's get back to Cronenberg. That is Dave brought this.
We're gonna torture Ash somehow, make her watch a Cronenberg, because I was like, another. This is just a tease. This is just a tease, ladies and gentlemen. But something I discovered doing the Top Gun research is that David Cronenberg was in actual consideration to direct Top Gun.
I mean,
and just let that sink in for a second. Imagine what he could have done with that, with motorcycles and fighter jets and Tom Cruise, and it just how can I mean, I don't even. It's like when you think about, like, when you hear like, oh well, David Lynch almost directed Return of the Jedi,
yeah,
and you're like, well, how would that have gone? You know what I mean? Like, imagine what. I can't even imagine.
Well, that is fascinating, because I feel like there's a lot of directors that kind of have that, like branching path, and I kind of wonder what ones out there that took it, that became commercial directors, that like should have probably stuck with their weird indie projects and maybe would have been better off. Like, the first one that comes to mind for me is like Josh Trank of Fantastic Four fame. Like he did one cool indie movie called Chronicle, and he did Fantastic Four, and I don't know, who's to say how life would have been without that movie, but certainly it seemed like that movie kind of tanked his career, or tranked his career, if you will.
No. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
The Fantastic Four movie?
Why do people hate it?
It's got certain chunks of it that are good, and I could kind of see what he was going for, but it's not a movie. It's not it's so blatantly obvious that the movie was not finished, and they just kind of put it out there. At least to me.
That's clear, but like it looks like it was hack and slashed, but it's a weird thing to judge him by, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing. I never really held it against Trank.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
it doesn't look bad. It doesn't feel like it has interesting parts to it. I didn't hate the characters. Like, it's a weird thing. People have such like a hatred for that thing, and I'm like, I watched it. I saw it once. I didn't think anything of it. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I honestly, it's true just because it's like hard to. There was such a negative press going on there, and I do feel for him in that. So it's any MCU, any Marvel non-MCU is just gets murdered. Probably,
I think.
Yeah, like the knives are usually automatically out for it from the get-go, and I'm talking to you, Morbius, and every Spider-Man property that Sony's going to try to shit out in the next 2 years or whatever. Yeah, they're definitely going to be like skeptical going into it, and I do like I think that was also at the apex of like a lot of like dark things being dark for darkness's sake, and like a lot of people, it's hard when you're like. I feel like the trend these days is to be kind of kitschy and more like tongue-in-cheek and stuff like that. And if you try to take yourself too seriously, like a lot of people are going to rip into you. But yeah, like so that's totally an example of like somebody who probably could have like had a very different career path. And I think he's got a new Tom Hardy movie coming out, the Capone movie.
So you've not seen the Capone movie?
Have you watched it?
No, but the trailer is brutal.
Yeah, I've heard not good things about it.
I've not seen it. I was excited. I'm into Trank. I'll give Trank chances.
Yeah.
I mean, they hired him for Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean?
It's like same thing. I think the guy's got an interesting enough style that I would like to see, what he would produce, without the constraints of like the studio system and all that stuff again. And so I've heard kind of mixed things. Like I've heard like the probably majority of people say it's like not good, but like there are some defenders for it, and I hear there's some weird stuff in it. So I'm willing to do weird, and usually Tom Hardy is a good selling point, though there are definitely times you can go overboard with the trying things out acting wise and doing the weird accents and stuff like. But yeah, I don't know. I like. Would you? Are you ever going to give it a watch, or it just?
I mean, I'll get my I'll throw my life raft on. You know what I mean? I'll go get my life jacket on. I'll pull my my boots on. I'll get my Jack Sparrow hat, and who knows? Maybe I'll hit the seven seas. Maybe on a Friday night I'll find myself 3 a.m. or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what happens? You know what I mean?
Who knows? Anything is possible.
Who knows? Anything's possible. But I don't have all the money in the world, my man. You know what I mean? I don't have Quibi money.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't have a free 3-month trial for Quibi.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean?
It's nice, man. People can't appreciate the good Quibi life when you're the only person, knowing that you're the only person in the entire world that's actually watching a soon-to-be defunct streaming service is kind of fun. So
how many shows does Quibi have?
It's got a fair amount. I didn't count, but I don't know. I'd guess like I don't know, somewhere in the 30s probably.
Doesn't who did they sucker into backing this?
Oh,
this venture?
I know Jeffrey Katzenberg was like the
There
main
you go.
dude.
I know they got some fish on the hook for
They
this.
got one of those
Katzenberg sounds right.
SKG DreamWorks guys or whatever, one of those big honchos.
And they were like, yes, the kids can't watch more than 12 minutes.
Yes, they want, everybody who's sitting in line at the grocery to just constantly be plugged into some mindless television, in the dystopian reality that we live or whatever. But yeah.
So you get a new 12 minutes of show each week? Or
No, it's every day, I think. Yeah, it's basically you get a new show every other week, I think. And usually it's like 2 new shows drop. But I'm curious about that too, because they keep on saying like, oh, we have like loads of content in the library. But I noticed, when I first started using the app, and when it first launched, they had a whole section that was like basically trailers for shows that were coming soon. And they had like 4 trailers that were going for the next month, like for things that were like, I think I got it at the end of April, and they had trailers for things that were premiering in like, second week of May. But I noticed that like the coming soon queue didn't like populate with anything else new. It just kind of hit it hit that second week of May, and then suddenly that section disappeared or whatever. So, but yeah, I don't know. There's some, and the other thing, that everyone is knocking it for, and probably rightfully so, is the big selling point for some reason that they keep on pushing is you can watch it either in vertical or horizontal formats, like all of their shows, which is like, some of the shows you could tell, like I find it fascinating from an editing perspective a little bit, just because I'm an editor, but like, it you can feel the constraint of them trying to frame shots so that it works for vertical or horizontal, and
that seems so insane.
It is
like how do you block a show that you have to worry about that?
Well, and the thing is, I kind of got the sense that they were doing that for a while in some shows, and then some shows just don't give a fuck. Like they just came out with Reno 911, which is great. But like the first 2 episodes, I noticed like, they have a shaky cam style anyways. And, so they shoot it for the horizontal frame, which is normal. But when you do the vertical frame is just like a super duper crop of the horizontal frame. So whatever you're working with, it's like you're zooming in like, 300% into the frame almost, or something like that, and you're just picking certain parts of the frame to focus in on. But like when you zoom in on the frame that much, even if it's like high quality, if it was shot handheld, like you notice the things like camera shake and stuff like that way more. So I've noticed like in later episodes, like they clearly must have been getting notes from producers saying like, yo, you got to do something to make this vertical video format work. So I noticed in the last episode that I watched, like they're actually doing it where the vertical and horizontal formats are shot differently. Like they are shot from different cameras. Like, so they'll have a scene where one of the officers is pulling somebody over, and the horizontal is just shot from the dash cam of the car and it stays there. But the vertical is shot from the point of view of somebody in the car. So it actually encourages you to switch from horizontal to vertical as you're watching it, to kind of see it from 2 different angles. So
it's like an interactive experience,
almost,
but it's kind of annoying.
It was, yeah, I wouldn't say, like, it still doesn't justify having it. But I will also say too, even though it's less, like from a artistic consumer standpoint, it's like bad for the quality of the product, but from a laziness perspective, yes, there's definitely sometimes like it is easier to hold your phone doing vertical video. So I think my consensus was, if it's like a show that has a narrative, like they have a lot of like ongoing, shows or whatever, like I'll watch those horizontally usually, but the kind of more like, contest talk show things, like those work better for the vertical format, because you're mostly just watching the talking heads anyways or whatever. But
now when you're enjoying Quibi, do you set it up on your Lazy Susan? Like how do you establish that?
Oh well, so
How is it positioned?
how's it positioned? I'm usually I spend like so much of my time now in bed just because I'm starting to work from home, so it's just like literally.
He just started. He was an essential worker before, but he just joined the rest of us living in our.
A little bit. It's been a few weeks, but I'm finally starting to adapt, and but I basically got it set up where I have my home desk. My desk for my home office is right next to my bed, and I got a lazy Susan. So literally all I have to do is like swivel my TV around and like move my keyboard, and I can just work in bed. So most days I'm just like, I wake up, I like gain consciousness, and then I like start going to work or whatever. But yeah, like I guess usually what I'll do is, because there's a lot of times where I'll have like small amounts of downtime where I'm waiting for something to download, and I've got like 5 minutes to kill or something like that. So I'll just kind of prop it up. Usually I'm like lying back in bed, and yeah, I gotta admit I use that vertical video sometimes too, and I'm just too damn lazy to hold it sideways. So
were these designed for an early morning dump or something? Like,
yes.
Is it that kind of strategy?
It's absolutely like I think it's almost a requirement that you have to be pooping while you're watching most of these.
They know. Do you get like Charmin
yes!
Ultra, like what I mean, ads and stuff pop up?
Literally, they have. I think it's not the only one, but they have one or most of their advertisements, like pre-roll are like kind of. Some of them are recognizable ad campaigns, but they definitely have a Charmin campaign that is made specifically for Quibi. That's like.
Very targeted.
Yeah. It's like somebody's knocking at the door and they're looking at their phone, and the bear's like, "Oh, hold on, I'll be out in a Quibi," or whatever the fuck. It's so dumb. But yeah, it's definitely I've weirdly like more than usual found myself having like 5 minutes of downtime at a time. So I feel like I can't be the only person on the in the country like that this model works for, but I definitely feel that way.
I think you are. I think they're going to come to your house with a check,
Yes.
like clearing sweepstakes price water clearing house. Do they still do the checks?
I don't think I think
they might bring you a trophy and say thank you.
You single-handedly saved this company.
Who has I know they got a few people. Like, who has shows on? Like, give me who are the stars, quote unquote, that they went out and got? Because there's some decent names that they gave the shows to. It didn't like. Who's one in the there's a dude who he was like in some sort of thriller, like I'm trying to remember so
Liam Hemsworth. Yeah, I can give you a list of everything because I've been, like I said, been watching way too much of this shit lately. But basically the thing I think, at least at the outset of their business model, that kind of sounded smart is, okay, if you're doing a show that is like 15 parts but every part is like 5 to 10 minutes, that's basically a movie. All you're doing is just filming a movie and cutting it up into like tiny little chunks. So you can afford so much like normally pricier talent that wouldn't have the, schedule or the, you wouldn't be able to afford normally. So they got Lawrence Fishburne is in one called Free Ray Sean. Liam Hemsworth is, I guess their flagship show is it's a remake of The Most Dangerous Game with Liam Hemsworth and what's his name? The guy from Inglourious Bastards. Colonel.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I'm totally drawing a brain for it, but
the Oscar-winning supporting actor guy.
Yeah, but so it's he's the bad guy, and Christoph Waltz. Sorry, that's what it was. And that's kind of like a straightforward, kind of dumb action movie sort of thing. They got one I just watched was called The Stranger, which had the dude from Chronicle. What's his name? The guy from what's his name? The weird kind of
Jake DeHaan,
Dean
DeHaan or something like that.
It's like him. It's him and the chick from It Follows, and it's a remake of The Hitcher, except it's like, I think they call it The Stranger because nobody hitchhikes anymore, and she's an Uber driver instead in this one. And same thing, it was kind of dumb, but like I liked it. Like and the other big one is they just came out with one with Anna Kendrick that is produced by Dan Harmon's now wife, the weird thing about it is, she plays the showrunner. Like she plays the person that wrote the show, and Dan Harmon is in it with somebody else playing Dan Harmon, and like the plot is, it's called Dummy, and it's about Dan Harmon has a sex doll that she discovers one day, and like the doll starts talking to her, but only she can hear it, and I don't know, they kind of go on wacky misadventures or whatever.
But is the doll a version of her or anything?
I think it's actually somebody else doing the voice. Like the way they do it is the doll itself can't move. They just like, they have like a real doll, and then like with CG effects, they just move her face and her mouth and her eyes. But like the gag is she can't move her own head or position herself in anything. And like the face is like right smack dab in the middle of the uncanny valley, so it's like really creepy to like watch her talk or whatever.
But the doll is not a version of another human being or anything. It's not like some weird like Scarlett Johansson
somebody's
doll or
soul
something,
got sucked into like a Chucky situation.
No. Like someone didn't.
Oh, so like somebody famous is playing the doll, or
yeah. Well, no, like someone didn't intentionally make the doll a version of someone else.
Oh yeah, no, I think
it's just some random doll.
It's supposed to be some random, like very Barbie looking doll.
Just a basic model.
Yeah, and they have jokes about it. There's a lot of I know, like weird meta jokes and like stuff like that. But it's kind of funny. At first I was like a little like iffy about it, because the other thing is, I can't remember, I think the girl who created it, the woman, her name is Cody. I'm totally drawing a blank on her last name, but Cody was the showrunner for the American Wilfred, with that Elijah Wood show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
I never saw it.
Oh, okay. Well, if you ever saw Wilfred, it's like very much like Wilfred, because it's about a person that kind of thinks they're going crazy because they pretty much have an imaginary friend that they kind of have to hide, and nobody else knows that they're talking to and stuff like that. So it's basically Wilfred with a sex doll instead of a guy in a dog costume. But it's kind of funny, and my general philosophy with it is like, yes, there's a lot of shows that are garbage, but I kind of was expecting that, and that's the kind of thing that I want to only invest 5 minutes of my time in, because like there are things that I normally wouldn't give too much of a shit about, and I'm so ADD these days that like I only really like to invest, like I want something that's a temporary distraction, but I don't want to like invest a lot of time into it. So like I never gave a crap about Punk'd, but they have Punk'd on this network, and I was like, okay, cool. If it's 5 minutes, sure, I'll invest 5 minutes of watching Chance the Rapper, pull a prank on someone while I'm taking a dump. Sure, why not? You know what I mean? So I honestly weirdly feel kind of bad for them. I definitely think they would have failed anyways had the corona not hit or whatever. Like they're definitely just trying to double down and blame it all on the virus fucking everything up. But I think it's a kind of interesting idea that will just be remembered for the Titanic failure. It probably will be. But I'll enjoy it while it lasts. I still have like a month and a half worth of free Quibi before I have to start paying for it, and I'm genuinely curious if the whole thing is going to go belly up before I actually have to start paying for it.
How much is it a month?
It's like $5 or $6 or something like that. It's not.
My God, man. My God.
But
who do they think we are?
I know, right? We're not made of freaking gold here. I'm not using gold toilet paper on my golden throne.
That sweet Charmin money better be coming in, bro.
Exactly, man.
You know what I mean? They're literally printing money.
Literally printing it. Gold leaf printing.
Well, Dan Harmon. It sounds. What's interesting? It sounds like an interesting format, but I wish it's a weird thing because they went out and they got these people, but like they get Hemsworth and they get the just to jingle the keys.
Yeah.
But I wish it was like giving, I don't know. I mean, and you tell me, I'm sure there are, but like, I wish it were a little bit more, more guerrilla style, like giving
Oh, like
a little bit
random
more
creators, like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess there's like other places you could do that. I don't know if it's like I guess anyone could do it. You could do it on YouTube, but like, it sounds like it would have been kind of a cool thing. It's like going back. I mean, we're talking about like Roiland, and we're talking about Harmon and like the channel
101,
101
yeah.
type stuff. Yeah, where it's like short, tiny little things that are voter based.
Yeah,
That it could have been an interesting kind of format to get to help kind of expose people instead of like find these weird people that are just like, I'm between projects, so I guess I'll do your like pity Quibi project.
Also, it's like, oh, you don't have to have a company that's like bankrolled by like $2 billion or anything. You could just have something that's a lot more grassroots and have a bona fide hit come out from an original creator that like came from nowhere. You know what I mean? If you played it right, like that's basically what Channel 101 was, and that was like kind of when the internet was a little bit more like the Wild West and all that sort of stuff. But I agree. I think you might be onto something, man. You should, like we should make that a thing.
Let's get it. I've been trying to get Mr. Volpe to move to New York or LA for 10 years.
About a decade, yeah.
About a decade. So he told me he's ready to move. He's ready to go.
One day, but
yeah, you can live in my cat room, dude.
It's your cat room?
Yeah, we got a cat room now.
Your cat has a whole room? Your cat's plural now, I guess?
Yeah, we have 2 cats now.
Oh my god.
We got the second bedroom. Moving on up.
I've seen
it's the cat room.
I've seen that one cat.
The entire apartment is just a cat apartment.
Yeah. You guys what stage of cat lady have you guys devolved into? Are you wearing weird sweaters? Are you starting to hear voices, yell at neighbors, anything like that?
I'm in the stage where the one cat sleeps on my head every night, and then I'm at the other stage where we're trimming the one cat's tail because we're like tired of cleaning poop out of it.
Oh. Oh, is it got like a big fluffy one?
I guess that we're at that stage. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
Let's see. We wanted to talk a little bit about Solar Opposites. We both watched the entire series. I watched it twice.
Oh, really?
I did, man. Because I kind of threw it on as a throwaway. Because I found like, it's like 23 minutes, 24 minutes, whatever. Perfect, like, cartoonish nonsense. Fall asleep to.
Right. Funny, light, and yeah, like that's compared to other things we've had to binge. This is like walk in the park.
I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the more painful things. I pushed them from my memory, but like
Lock and Key is the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I know. Oof, God.
That was so long.
We have binged some things that have just taken years off our lives, man.
Yeah.
This was fine. I don't want to get doxxed. You know what I mean? I don't want to get swatted. But it's like, dare I say, I almost like this better than Rick and Morty in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I don't know, more sitcom-y. It's like, I feel like it's less of a like investment, like in a good way. Like it's just like, okay, yeah, I know who these characters are pretty immediately, and the selling point for me is definitely the B plot or whatever that other half of the show. But I like the main plot enough, and it is totally like a nice. It's like more of a comfort food show, I think, in a weird way.
And I assume. I mean, we're talking about it. It's been out for it's on Hulu, which is a paid service. I'd say it's like less people have Hulu than Netflix. I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit harder to see. So I think we're going to try to kind of keep it like non-spoilers in case people are still kind of finding it, getting to it. Maybe if you're listening to this and you're not sure about it, maybe it'll encourage you to go check it out. It's honestly parts of it are more enjoyable to me than Rick and Morty because it's the comparisons are obvious to Rick and Morty. It's from Justin Roiland, who is half of that kind of creation team with Dan Harmon. The animation team is all the same. Obviously, I mean, if you take a look at it, it's very clear that the same, it's the same style, the same studio. You can, I think what's really fun and kind of interesting is kind of figuring out like the different projects where we're watching, Ash and I, we're making our way through Community. I think we're like 5 seasons in. I think we're on like the 5th season. And so you kind of see like, here's what a Dan Harmon show
is by itself. You can kind of separate the two. Yeah, I agree. And I almost think that like the main, I could be wrong. I'm totally just like interpreting on my own, but I almost think that was almost like the impetus for this is like Justin Roiland was like, look, I want to show people what my style is, so like when you look at Rick and Morty, you can tell which parts are the Dan Harmon and which parts are, and it seems, once again, it's all drawing our own narrative onto it, but it does seem pretty obvious. And if you look at like some of Justin Roiland's other stuff too, it's like it basically boils down to Dan Harmon is like the weird meta navel gazing stuff, and Justin Roiland is the crazy character designs and funny voices, the dick and fart jokes, and the like flippy nipples and like all the weird names and stuff like that.
Right.
Schmeckles.
Right.
And, you know.
Yeah. I would imagine. I don't know if it's a weird ego thing for Roiland, where he was kind of tired of hearing like, oh, you're the...
Yeah, Dan Harmon's the genius or whatever.
Yeah, Harmon is the brains and the genius behind Rick and Morty, and you are fucking Ringo.
Yeah,
and you're just, get back there and play the fucking drums, put on a bass line.
Yeah.
Harmon is the genius. He did a genius show that everyone loves, Community, and this is his second thing, and you've never done anything, and you're lucky that you just do the fucking voices. I'm sure he's heard that, man.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I want to do, which who knows if that's true. I have no idea, but I'm sure he kind of wanted to like, do something a little bit on his own.
Yeah.
He's not doing it alone, obviously. Like he has another creator that is from Rick and Morty that he took. So.
And I think part of it too, if I had to guess, like it's like whatever deal that their production studio struck with to do more Rick and Morty for Cartoon Network or whoever it is, like I think they're just fully in the like we are a fucking sausage factory now. Like before, like they would, one of the reasons why it takes so long to do the new seasons before they got the 7-season deal was like basically all the animators would like do their 10 episodes and then they would like close up shop and get other gigs for a while. And so I think this is part of the push to just always having the same in-house animation team producing content so that, they just keep the machine moving or whatever. But I also would imagine for both of the guys that are the creators of Solar Opposites, it's probably nice to have like just creatively like something else that's like probably doesn't have as much pressure on it too, because that's the thing is like Rick and Morty takes so long to come out and it's so popular now. It's like everybody's got their own expectations for it, and it's like one of those things, like the more fans your show has, like the more like suddenly perilous it becomes to like the risk of disappointing them suddenly becomes like a real tangible thing. So I bet you like this is kind of like them wanting to try out like things that they probably couldn't get to try in Rick and Morty, even though it's like very similar. Like there's less pressure, it's more of an open-ended, free-flowing thing.
No, I agree. I think this was probably a way for them to kind of branch out and get away from that a little bit and get away from the trappings and that pressure. And I think Rick and Morty is kind of trying to get away from that now, where they've talked about like making it more
like episodic instead
serialized. Because I think they talk. I mean, I think in the last episode of the train episode,
the train episode was like a clear like fuck you to fans who had their theories about where the show was going or whatever.
Yeah, so it was kind of a, I would say to me, some of my favorite Rick and Morty is a little bit more, episodic, less serialized, where it's where they are just kind of going on adventures, right? And the longer underlying plots are interesting, but they're not why you're... They're kind of exhausting,
yeah,
right?
And that's the thing that often like kind of derail shows as they go on sometimes. Like, you know, a lot of shows kind of fall into episodic things, especially as there's like, you know, especially when it's like one of those shows like Rick and Morty that's like ostensibly a light, fun show that kind of introduces dark stuff throughout. And
I mean, it's a ripoff of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And people, it's, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the origins of it. It's supposed to be fun, but it is, man. It's probably taken on a life that they couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
And the insane amount of kind of just the fandom, and after the fucking McNugget sauce,
exactly.
dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they were like, you know,
let's tone it down.
You know, because Roiland's, I mean, Roiland's been developing this for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I think they tried to sell it to Fox in like 2018.
Oh,
I think it got bought in 2018, and then it something fell through, and then it kind of got resold later to Hulu. I guess when 20th Century Fox kind of
was going
through
I
its
imagine
whole thing,
like
and
Disney was like, oh yeah, we're not.
Yeah, this is not going to be on brand for us. Yeah. So let's go ahead and put it on Hulu. You know, but this is, you know, what's interesting, and we're not going to get too deep into
the actual specifics or whatever.
Yeah, you know, but basically, it's I have my own kind of fun, like, I honestly think that this is an entire vehicle based around that kind of C plot.
Yeah. I read up on it later, and once again, we're just going to talk around it, so we're not spoiling people. But there is a element of the show that kind of takes on a life of its own, shall we say?
Yeah, and I don't mind getting into that, but like, and we can say what it is. But basically, the very simple premise of the show is just aliens. It's imagine if it's the Superman story where an alien world is being destroyed. Aliens flee a world that's going to be hit by a meteor and it's going to explode. Aliens flee that world. They land on Earth. They're trying to make the best of it. They're not hiding as aliens. It's out and about. They're the only aliens. Everyone, they're dealing with their own kind of weird, fun issues of being aliens on Earth and learning about the culture and things like that. And it's kind of four main characters. There's kind of I would say the main character is Roiland's character, which is Corvo, which is kind of like I would say he's kind of the closest to Rick, where he's kind of the de facto leader. He's the smart one. He's grumpy. Right. He's angry. There's Terry, who is voiced by Thomas Middleditch of like Silicon Valley. And it's very different from kind of his character from
Silicon Valley, right?
You wouldn't know. Yeah, you wouldn't. I don't think you'd have any idea that he was being voiced by him, just because it's a completely different style of character.
Right.
And he is very much. They are complete, you know,
solar opposites.
Right? You know, yeah. So I mean, they are just they're. I guess they're. It's a quote unquote family unit, but they're non-related. They're just kind of like, it'd be like Third Rock from the Sun, where they're kind of a group of aliens who are a family, right? But they're just, where Third Rock from the Sun, they're assuming the identities of humans. These aliens are not. They're just, the man he's walking around in robe alien clothing. He doesn't assimilate into the human culture. Right. The rest of them they're trying to assimilate into the kind of American human normal culture. The quote-unquote children, the younger alien, are going to high school as, like, I guess they're, what are they, like, 14 or something, you know, young teenagers.
Right. And then there's the, of course, baby character, except it's not their baby.
The Maggie Simpson character.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
The silent kind of, like, gets its own silent plot in every episode character or whatever.
Right. Yes.
Honestly, the pupa is probably my favorite character in the show.
Which it's a cool wrinkle, because apparently the pupa, which I don't think it's not a child version of that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, I guess, something
some
different.
Sort of other thing that will mature at some point and evolve and then destroy all humanity and terraform their planet so that it can be, you know, better suited for their needs, but it seems perfectly fine right now.
Yeah.
for their need. You know what I mean? They're running around.
And that's a great like little seed for them to kind of plant now, no pun intended. You know, I'm sure if this show ends up Rick and Mortying as well and becoming popular, and it'll develop its own plot lines and stuff like that. That's like a little Chekhov's gun that you stick in the beginning and you don't really like pay attention to, but there's like this little tension of like, oh hey, is that thing ever gonna like reach its maturity and kill everyone or whatever?
Right. So you're kind of they kind of hint that things are to kind of keep you thinking about it, where I think at the end of the season things are happening, but it's constantly kind of being, you're reminded of its importance and things like that. It kind of goes off on its own little misadventures and things like that. The way they kind of structure the show is that the two adult aliens are kind of what you would call, I guess, like an A plot.
Yeah.
The two children are kind of a B plot. And then in certain episodes, there's kind of like a third plot where the children have, just to lightly touch on it, and this is the most fascinating part of the entire show, and this is what I honestly think it's a Trojan horse concept, where I think they sold a network on, hey, we're going to make this concept, and they were like, but we really want to make this show. And the third plot, basically, of the show is that the young male adolescent alien named Yumulak has a living kind of terrarium wall where he keeps shrunken down humans that he shrinks down to like an inch tall or 2 inches tall.
Well, probably even smaller. It's like
tiny.
They make a point of like a mouse is the size of a cow in one episode. So
right.
That's a
so if you think a mouse is the size of a mouse is a rideable beast of burden.
Yeah.
So you're that size, right? And if you cross Yumulak, if you just happen to, one guy happens to walk by him, and he goes, oh, that man has a red shirt. I don't have one of those. And he just shrinks him and puts him in his wall. So you could literally your fate is decided by just
arbitrary
happenstance. Yeah. Yep. One guy farts in an elevator and blames it on him. He gets shrunken down. Every offense from like a rude waitress who wasn't fast enough with a refill of a drink, she gets shrunken. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's interesting to see throughout the course of the season how those characters develop and change from being what they were in the real world, a janitor who does kind of a creepy thing early on in the season ends up in the wall, and then you get to see how that progresses. You know what I mean? The man in the red shirt, how he progressed, and just it's interesting.
Yeah, it's
that is the most
compelling,
fascinating
part.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree 100%.
And that, I think anyone, if you talk to anyone who has seen the show, that is what is the most fascinating part of the entire series, and that's what people want to know more about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they thought they could sell that concept to a network, you know?
Well, I ended up, I can't remember where I read it, but like I read an interview where they were like, yeah, that was kind of our thing. Because I think it was like them kind of having their cake and eating it too, specifically about the serialization versus ongoing storyline plotline that we were talking about before, where the main show ostensibly is like basically like a sitcom where every episode kind of doesn't connect, and it's like there's kind of a plot, but really it's all just like a little bit more of a series of jokes and everything like that. But the
alien, it's very Simpson-y.
Yeah,
it's just what are they doing this week?
Yeah. But then the comparison, I really think I'm kind of wondering if that's where the name Solar Opposites kind of comes from too, like more so than just the two main characters being different, because it's like you're getting like totally parallel kind of like vibes from each show. Like the other show, the C plot is like kind of like dark. It's
absolutely
well, it's got that
super.
It's got a little bit of that, like, the thing that's in all the like more fucked up Rick and Morty episodes, but the fact that it keeps on kind of drilling down deeper every episode. Like the first time you're introduced to one of the main characters of the C plot, it's like literally he's a throwaway joke at the end of an episode, and then it's a surprise when he shows up again. And same thing with the other characters. And then once you get into the machinations of this society that has formed in this terrarium, and like even the level of talent, like Alfred Molina is what they
they got Christina Hendricks as one of the characters.
It's like there's a few other ones, but like it's funny because like the big name talent is all in the C plot. Like everyone else is just Thomas Middleditch and like a bunch of like regular voice actors doing the aliens and everything. So
right. Well, I think that was one of the things that initially turned me off, where the design of the alien is insultingly bad.
Yes.
And I thought, is this a jab at kind of like, we are going to show you, I can literally draw just the shittiest circle colored alien, and I'll sell that show and I'll still get paid, and we'll draw it and we'll have them go on their adventure, whatever, but we're going to sneak this part into this. And that will be kind of my art, but I'm gonna sell them this insultingly bad alien design. It's just,
what it reminds me of. You remember Rocko's Modern Life, like Mr. and Mrs. Bighead or something?
That exactly right. No, that's exactly what they look like. I mean, it's just kind of like they were like, I need you to design an alien. You have like 5
the
minutes.
meeting's in 4 minutes. You overslept through your alarm, and you it's ironically that's apparently like pretty much what happened with Matt Groening when he came up with The Simpsons. Like he just like sketched some shit like 10 minutes before the meeting, and it ended up becoming the most successful thing ever. But like, but honestly, that aesthetic kind of makes sense with the kind of like, I guess, punk rock attitude of Justin Roiland, and like even the designs of his normal stuff, like the people all having like asterisk eyes and everything like that. Like it kind of tracks. I can understand, but it is kind of funny though, because it's like you always associate him, at least from Rick and Morty, with like the alien designs in Rick and Morty, even though
I mean even the recent episode where they had kind of the face hugger. I mean, just if you look at that art, this could have been another way for them to kind of further distance themselves and go like, hey, this will not be Rick and Morty, because I mean, we're not going to just because the artwork in Rick and Morty, especially the later seasons and stuff, and the character design and things like that, the aliens, it's so cool. And they were just like, let's just let's not do stick figures, but let's literally do like MS Paint.
But yeah, like I feel like it's like that. The stupider and simpler design of a character that you have, like the more you're gonna juice it for humor. Like the big dumb smile on their face, I feel like works in tandem with some of the lines that they'll be reading. And like they still have parts of like really like they definitely have like put a good amount of effort into the animation when they want to. Like honestly, my favorite, like one of my favorite animated aspects of the show is like the random reoccurring gag where whenever any of the aliens cry, they don't cry, but they start ejecting little tiny creatures from their head, and like somebody animates every single one of those creatures, and then there's a ongoing joke that the pupa likes to eat the creatures, so you constantly see the pupa going off after these tiny creatures in the background and eating them and like puking them up, and like every episode. So like
they're clearly capable of it, because they remember. I mean, is it the first episode where they like animate that weird little character from a TV show?
Yeah, the little like and then they like I forgot the name of it, but it's like a little like dog looking thing or whatever.
Right. Imagine like they, I don't think it's really a spoiler to a plot or anything, but they see some sort of weird kids TV show creature and decide, hey, we should just make one.
Yeah.
Like, we should just recreate him in some sort of weird cloning machine, alien nonsense, whatever. And they, like, make one, and then it weirdly mutates and goes crazy and does all... And that artwork is insane, because it takes on a life of its own. It mutates into... It goes back into the weird Cronenberg, Morty, Cronenberg, all the Cronenberg weird creature stuff. but yeah, man. I mean,
I think that I think that all goes like the juxtaposition of something like really dumb character designs that either turn into or they suddenly face like very grotesque or like very intricate designs. Like that's like that is like a lot of the Justin Roiland humor, like where you have, you know, the biggest one was like, you have a creature that's cute and simple looking that suddenly turns into something like horrible and grotesque, and like the shock that you get from that really, I think, is like a lot of the feels that you get from this show, and like sporadically throughout Rick and Morty and everything.
So what? Because you've seen everything of you've seen every episode of Community.
Yeah.
You've seen every episode of Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I haven't seen the latest one, but yeah, pretty much.
The Vat of Acid episode.
I guess I haven't. I literally was gonna watch it before we started podcasting, and I didn't get around to it. But
no worries. But I was gonna say, the moments that we're referring to in the C plot of Solar Opposites, it really taps into the darker scenes in there's a dark scene in the latest Rick and Morty, and that is, feeling that they key into, that's the C plot.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I like that though.
To me, that's what it feels like.
See, for me, like it's just like probably more commentary on my own like fucked up sense of humor, but like I always feel like I like that. Like the times that I tend to chuckle the most is when you're kind of butting up humor with something that's like genuinely terrifying or like grotesque. I like my humor like I like my coffee, nice and black. You know what I mean? Like
fair trade. Black, bitter.
Yeah.
Preferably fair trade.
but like that's the thing is like when you get that, like something can be funny, but when you add in like that feeling you get when you see something so horrible that it makes you like laugh because you don't know how else to react from it. It's like kind of more like a shocked laugh. Like that, I think, like when you're able to mix the two, and you can, if you do it right, like it really makes for a more unique and memorable experience and everything like that.
Yeah. So where I was going with that, you know better than I. I'm still working my way through Community. You've seen the insane sex doll show.
Yeah.
You've seen more of Roiland's work than I have. You just have. You've seen more of the weird stuff than I have. Mm-hmm. Are you picking up now? Like you can better define who is what and who is, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
so what in your opinion is what are you not seeing in one, and what are you seeing, and how are you seeing? Are you appreciating differently who is contributing?
Which, like, especially in the Rick and Morty combo, who is Dan Harmon? Like, what is coming from Dan Harmon? What's coming from Roiland? That sort of thing? Is that what you're asking? Like,
right. Bro, because I know we've talked, right, about the train circle, and that's all Harmon's craziness about the...
The train circle episode that just came out on Rick and Morty, that was the most recent one I watched. I didn't do, like, a ton of research on it afterwards, but, like, I just know... In the plot, it's kind of like a Snowpiercer type of plot, where it's like Rick and Morty are going through different train cars trying to escape, basically, and it's all very meta in the sense that like every train car is like kind of, it's supposed to mirror, like Dan Harmon is kind of famous for creating this thing called his story circle, which is his own modified version of the hero's journey, which is this famous like. It's like this thing that like they always say like is the structure of a story that has been followed ad infinitum since the beginning of time. Like some of the most timeless stories follow it, like Star Wars and The Wizard of Oz are good examples. And it's always like, the call to action, which is like the thing that comes into the hero's life that makes him do something different, and then the refusal of the call because the hero is always hesitant, and then they meet a mentor that like tells them to go on the journey and gives, and there's weirdly specific steps, and not every story has it, but most of them have elements of it and everything. And basically, years ago, Dan Harmon had kind of made his own modified version that like isn't as specific as that and kind of puts it more into layman's term, and it basically breaks it down to like you have somebody that's in a position of comfort and something comes along and knocks them out of that comfort position and yada yada yada. It goes on. It's a little bit more its own thing, but weirdly, like, it has like become a huge thing amongst writers. Like, I feel like every time I listen to a writer talk lately, or anyone that has a podcast that is a writer, like, seems to bring it up in passing at some point. Same thing with the Bechdel test, which is a element that comes into that Rick and Morty episode. So I think the whole Rick and Morty episode is very Dan Harmony in that it is very meta and navel-gazy, and like, you see a lot of that sort of stuff in Community too. Like, there are episodes of Community that pretty much do that same thing, like commentating on a story structure as it's happening and kind of subverting expectations and everything like that. So that stuff is pretty cool, and I usually like it, but I also understand it's kind of a tightrope, and it probably is starting to butt up on the point where it's like a little too masturbatory and smart.
The last episode even got there, where they, I don't think it's a spoiler, but there's an exchange between Rick and Morty where it's just an exchange between Harmon and
Roiland,
and I think it could be Roiland and Harmon where they're talking about ideas. It sounds like they're talking about
like the show itself, or like what they're gonna do.
Yeah, like, or just coming up with ideas for the show, or coming up with ideas for the episodes or something like that, where they mock each other, where he uses the examples of like, you never like my ideas, your adventures suck, right, my adventures are better. Oh, remember the one with the pickle where I turned myself into a pickle? Like, they get into this battle of like, I came up with that. Where were you? You know what I mean? Kind of. It's very strange, man. There may be some weird underlying
like tension
things.
Or
like,
well, I was curious because I thought that I heard the rumor that they were like arguing a little bit more, and like, I don't think there's like bad blood or anything like that, but like I could see, especially like we were saying, once you get that added pressure and suddenly people are like, oh, are you going to tie all these stories together? Where's the show going? What type of show is this going to be? Like, I could see that being where they're two differing creative types start to butt up against each other, and like the balance between the two is the genius of Rick and Morty, because it is, I think, a show that's better than the sum of their parts. Like, they're both, unique and very talented in their own right. But like, the thing I think that always made Rick and Morty special is the weird kind of combo of that, like, fucking flippy nipples jokes with like, what is the meaning of life kind of ponderings, and the way it changes gears from those, like, like 1 second to the next. But like, it's also hard to kind of maintain that tempo, especially when there's all this pressure and everything like that. So yeah, I'm sure they're like probably like putting little breadcrumbs, like, paying homage or addressing that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like it could have been an exchange in between people in the writer's room. It could be it could be them arguing with fans, where they were getting critiqued for bad episodes, but then they're like, hey, remember this? Yeah. Remember the Pickle Rick?
Yeah.
Like, where were you? You remember? You know what I mean? Like, it could be old, where were, what happened? You guys have sucked in season 2. It could have been anything. It could, you're projecting weird things. That could be anything, but it's interesting to, like, these are unnatural exchanges. And I always feel those are Harmon trying to communicate something, because they don't feel like they're natural conversation between two characters. They are it's a weird way to communicate for a guy that just is, I think he's like constantly on Twitter, right? He just has a podcast. Like, it's a weird thing that he chooses to use that as a way to weirdly veiled communication. He would just get blackout drunk and host a podcast and just talk shit about Chevy Chase.
Yeah, I think that's...
So why would you do weird veiled messages in like the most insane popular TV show?
I mean, he did that in Community. I think that's Dan Harmon's thing. Like you were talking about, like, how can you tell the difference between the two? And like, I think like Dan Harmon, every creative act that he makes is like a therapy session, because he can't not inject himself and his life and his like insecurities into everything he works on, for better or worse. Like, I think that's like the thing that made Community so good. But if you like listen to him talking about Community, like all these throwaway jokes or just like you said, like him hearing somebody on Twitter making fun of critiquing his writing, so he ends up like taking something that person said on Twitter, and that's apparently where Streets Ahead came from, because somebody on Twitter said that some other show is Streets Ahead, so they had some character on Community say it to make fun of that. And same thing, I think that's kind of why his first marriage broke up, is because he couldn't, the only way, I think he said the only way he would talk to Erin McGaffey about their problems is if she came on the show and talked about it in public. So he's like big on this like weird confessional thing, and I think that's where you get a lot of power of his stuff from. But it is, like I said, like, especially when people kind of start to like recognize that shtick, it is like maybe like a little too like navel gazy sometimes. Even though I love it, I think he's like one of the best. He's still always going to be one of my favorite writers and everything like that. But it's interesting to see where he's going to be at now that he's at this weird, like, kind of different trajectory with his career now that he probably was never expecting. I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go for it.
I was just saying that the Netflix thing makes me really excited, because I really feel like that now is the time that they're finally going to, like, suddenly it's like the idea of a Community movie seems like it might actually somehow be a feasible possibility. Like, whereas, like, you know, a year ago, everyone would be like, oh yeah, that's the last we're ever going to hear of any of those people being in the same room together, because they're all so famous now. But, like, the only person that could afford Donald Glover and all those people to make a Community movie would be Netflix now. And, you know, it'd be kind of interesting.
Has anyone, I mean, not to be like shitty, but like, has anyone done anything else from the show?
From Community?
Yeah.
Dude, like, half of them are in Marvel movies.
I mean, yeah, I mean, well, like,
Alison Brie's probably going to be She-Hulk. Let me see. I mean, I would say that.
I mean, is
Joe McHale is like.
I mean, Joe McHale is talking to Tiger King.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like kind of like I will hand it to the guy. He like, I feel like he does not, like, if his phone rings, he will take the gig. Like, he knows that you know, you just have to like kind of like try to cast a wide net, because I feel like I've seen him pop up in like every single show that could have a guest star lately. He's on a bunch of Quibi shows as guest stars and stuff like that.
Oh,
you know?
I'm shocked to hear that. Yeah, I mean, well,
you know, and
gotta eat.
yeah, I admire his tenacity. But
I mean, you got is Danny Pudi doing? Is it Pudi?
Yeah, Danny Pudi's on. I haven't seen it, but he's on that Apple Plus TV show with the guy from Always Sunny. I heard some people say it's good, some people say it's terrible. I haven't watched any of it yet, so I don't know.
With Mac.
Yeah,
where he's like a video game designer.
Yeah, it's like something Quest. Yeah, I forgot. What
is that on? It's on Apple Plus?
Yeah, Apple TV.
What is it called? Apple TV?
Apple TV Plus. Something.
I mean, does anyone have that?
I have it. I've literally never used it, because you get a year free. But I was like, okay, I'll sign up for this. And there's so many fucking streaming services now that, like, I just haven't gotten. I kind of want to see. They came out with that Beastie Boys documentary like a couple of weeks ago. That's apparently fantastic. So that would probably be the one thing that actually gets me to give it a try. But yeah, I've heard from people, like, most of them are a little bit more hardcore gamers, so I feel like they're like more into the subject matter or whatever. But I've heard from some people that it's great, and then I heard from some people that it's like terrible, and it's like, you know, all the characters suck and everything like that. So but yeah, I mean, that I would say, like, you know, there have been varying degrees of success for them, but, you know, people have been doing good. Like, Jim Rash is like won a friggin' Oscar even before the show was over, and he's kind of like does a bunch of, you know, runs a bunch of writers' rooms and everything like that. And then, you know, was it like the guy that played Chang is like, you know, still working.
He's hosting The Masked Singer.
Yeah, like,
right?
he's same thing. I think like he's like.
What's Sherry up to? Is Sherry doing anything?
I think she's got some sitcom, because the whole thing they said was like she had to move back to Georgia because her dad was getting sick. So I can't remember what sitcom it is, but she was basically like, yeah, I needed a show where we weren't going to be shooting at 4 a.m. every fucking weeknight because we were over schedule or whatever. So it just did like a regular like 3-camera sitcom. So they're working, but I would say, you know, the breakout stars like Alison Brie in particular, and you know, even to slightly lesser extents like Gillian Jacobs and all that, like they're all kind of like doing well.
This isn't a Reno 911 situation where everyone was just yup.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the way the wheel of fate goes. You know, a lot of them will eventually hit a point where your career is like could use a boost. But the thing I like about it is like I'm trying not to be cynical about it. Like I feel like, you know, Chevy Chase aside, it seems like that group of people did kind of like each other, and you know, like the chemistry was there, and I think they realized that like they made something good. Like it might be nice to see them all get together to see, you know, if they could like actually, you know, just do it just because they actually love it.
Did Chevy Chase do the table read? I didn't.
No, actually, the episode that they did was the Chevy Chase Pierce's will reading, the one that basically Donald Glover's send off episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, which is actually a pretty good one to pick, like one of the bottle episodes. Yeah, I will say my one curiosity is if they did do a movie. You know, Community works so well as a show because every episode you could do something different and like do a different genre and kind of like make every episode be its own thing. So I kind of wonder how well that would translate into a 2-hour movie. You know what I mean? If it would be just like too all over the place to hold together. But you know, I'm sure they'll do something. And I feel like when you make that movie, you can't not kind of have some in-jokes about the fact that like so many of their guest stars will have been Marvel superheroes, or like the Russo brothers went and directed all, you know, the Avengers movies, and then what was it? Not Alison Brie might be She-Hulk by the time it comes out, but Brie Larson, what's his name? Kumail Nanjiani, who else was a superhero? There's like 2 or 3 more that are like, yeah, now in the Marvel universe. So I feel like if they did it, they'd have to like get those actors together for a shot and like, you know, make some sort of in-joke about it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because by season 6, they were actively dissing the Marvel movies too, like in the dialogue or whatever as like in-jokes. So, but I don't know.
Because when did they lose the Russos to do like Winter Soldier, or they did Civil War first, right? Which was like what, 2012 or 13 or something?
Yeah, Winter Soldier was the first one
that they did, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because like the second or third to last episode of Community, they totally pay homage to themselves because they do that elevator gag from Captain America. You know, where like Captain America's in the elevator and bad guys keep on getting in, and you know that they're all about to fight and crazy action scene breaks out and shit. Yeah, I don't know. I imagine they probably got too busy to do anything with that as the years went on. But I think like right around the show ended was right around when they were starting to blow up, because like right after that was Civil War, and then that quickly led into the Avengers and stuff like that. It's crazy. All you got to do is get the right gig, and before you know it, you're directing the most expensive and most highest grossing movie of all time. You know.
That's what I've been telling you for 10 years, bro.
Yeah, man. We'll do it. We're gonna be doing our own Avengers movie soon enough. We just gotta.
Let's go. Just move out. The streets are paved with gold,
right,
out here in Los Angeles, and it's a very welcoming town.
Yeah. It's everyone's just sunshine and rainbows and holds the door open for you.
Like you'll walk off the plane at LAX. There'll be a gentleman holding a sign. You'll hop into a limo. They'll take you to your house in Beverly Hills, and then they'll ask you what kind of project would you like to sign on today, my man.
Oh, wow. That sounds cool. I like it better in New York, where they, give you the designer clothes as soon as you step out of the tunnel, and performance artists dance for you and stuff like that.
Yeah, New York scares me, but you like Williamsburg a little bit more than I did. So
yeah. Not for me now, though. I'll keep on staying in the little hole I've burrowed for myself for a little while longer. That's all right.
We gotta get him out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Get him out of the bed.
Peel me off the bed.
Peel him off the bed. Get him out to Los Angeles. Make it happen.
We can do it, man. Just
we'll get him out.
Remember, people, GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. Get Volpe to LA.
Such a noble cause.
You know what I mean? If Pretty Woman and Julia Roberts, they can all do it. So can you.
I can do it.
Dare to dream. If you have to turn tricks on the Hollywood Boulevard, my man, I'll be there to pick you up.
Only
as soon as the sun's coming up.
Can I be? There's got to be people that do it, but it's like, can you be simultaneously like turning tricks and also being one of those street performers that are on by like the Chinese theater and everything? Like,
I think if you can dream it, you can do it.
Like, yeah, can you be Jack Sparrow, but also like, I'll do anything for $10.
Yeah, be like, oh, did you want a picture? That's $10. Did you want to?
You want to look at it? It's $20 to touch it.
Yeah. Did you want to sneak into that tchotchke shop's bathroom?
Yeah.
That's gonna be another $15.
All right. You ever made it with Spider-Man, kid? Make your dreams come true. Come on.
We're like, here, kid, take your dad into the shop while I talk to your mom real quick.
Yeah, I'll insert obligatory joke about web fluid. But yeah, I feel like there's got to be a lot of crossover there. And I have a lot of old Halloween costumes. So yeah, man, I think that's all the hard work right there.
Do you still have the Chick-fil-A costume?
Chick-fil-A costume? Are you talking about the cow thing? No, man, that wasn't for Chick-fil-A. It was...
what was that for?
It was for a... Kevin James kids movie that no one remembers now called Barnyard.
Damn.
But yeah, I had to give that one back.
Damn.
But I got other costumes, maybe not cows, but I'm sure other barnyard animals.
I'm trying to think. Your Nacho Libre.
Yeah, Nacho Libre was cool. Yeah, man, I got, I got my, like, I got Halloween costumes I can just throw on. I got a powdered toast man costume that everyone just assumes is SpongeBob, so that'll probably work for standing outside.
Yeah, if there's anything I know about the tourists who traffic Hollywood Boulevard during the summer, they're very cued into early 90s Nickelodeon Ren and Stimpy references.
Right, yeah, and...
you know what I mean?
Wearing a big hot square costume while standing on West Coast pavement in the middle of the day sounds like a real smart decision.
Yeah, it'll be fine, man. The sun's not beating down on you that hard, and you just gotta fight for your turf, and not let that upcoming hip hop artist push you out of the corner, trying to sell his album, for $5 a CD.
Shit, man. Do you know
Stuff
how much
like that,
clout you'll get if you get fucking SpongeBob to guest on your track? Like, you should be begging me to be on your...
You just got to figure out some hustle, because what they'll do is they hand you the CD, and if you take it, they'll go, that's $5.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I don't... And they're like, no, it's $5. And then you're in this awkward, like, I don't want this. And they're like, I want $5. They don't want their CD back. They want $5.
I mean, at that point...
You're like, ooh, do I put it on the ground and run, or do you want to take it, or what would you like to do here?
I mean, it's like... I feel like at that point, I would just take the CD and run. Even me, like, I'm not purporting...
I'm not gonna make any assumptions, but in a foot race, they might have you beat.
Yeah, true. But... I don't know. That is an interesting dilemma. Actually, I take it back. I'd probably just buy the CD.
You got to come up.
I've totally
remember
done
your
that
old
before.
hustle?
What's it?
What was your old? you have a spare cigarette pack in your socks.
Oh yeah. That's always the trick. Is
You had one cigarette, or you had an empty bag. What did you used to do? You had an empty pack in your, and you'd show the homeless guy in Richmond, like, oh, sorry, man.
Yeah, last one. Same thing. I know people that have like dummy wallets, so if they get mugged or whatever, or somebody, if they're really getting asked by like a ton of homeless people like back to back,
just whip that thing.
Whip it out. You got
Hey,
one buck in there, and I think the trick they always use is the dummy wallet looks real. It's like a regular leather wallet, and then they'd have like one of those like shitty paper, like made of recycled paper Simpsons wallets or something like that actually holds their important shit. Or maybe it was the other way around, but yeah, that's the way to do it, man.
Bro, you're ready, dude. You're ready for the streets, man. All right, we can't wait. Oscars, here we come, baby.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Teen Choice Awards. I don't know. We'll have to get our work away up.
Start small. I wanna.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, I wanna get.
I want to see you get slimed at the Nickelodeon, and then we'll work our way to an MTV Movie Award.
Yeah, I want to get Best Kiss or something like that for.
Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar is gonna make out with what's her name. But you're gonna direct it. You're gonna write it and direct it, bro.
Oh shit, man, that's the dream. SpongeBob and Buffy finally get it on. The dream duo that you always wanted to see.
Well, there you have it. Are you what classic films are you gonna watch for us? Everyone's gonna take one on the chin. I'm gonna do it. I'm going through. I'm going through my like. I went and found this website that has lists of like, oh, these are the best movies, and you click them off as you go, and then I'm gonna compile a list. And I was like, man, ooh, I've seen a lot of what people consider to be the best movies of all time, but there's a few. So I've got a few that are in the runnings, but I have a few wild ones that I've never seen, like Princess Bride. Never seen it.
Oh.
Never seen it. So if you have any, and I told Ash, the difficulty with you is that you don't see things that you don't want to see.
Yeah, that's my thing is like.
So this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You don't watch movies that you don't want to see. So how do we get you to watch movies that you don't want to see?
I mean, I would probably say like there are certain. There's got to be a middle ground somewhere. Like for me, it's like,
Now, what's a classic movie that you haven't seen?
Something like Cool Hand Luke. That would be,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and maybe,
Watch him eat 50 eggs or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that what
Like,
he does?
I know all the references.
And then we'll have you eat 50 eggs, dude.
Oh my God.
Brilliant.
Can we do,
Bro,
can we go
Yes.
2 months without you trying to get me to fucking go into some eating contest or get me to bribe a hobo or whatever?
Dude, how about, no, listen, dude, how about you just drink 50 eggs? Like, we'll put them in like a giant jar or something. You don't have to eat 50 hard-boiled eggs. That sounds hard. That's what he does in Cool Hand Luke. You just drink 50 eggs.
It's brilliant.
Like, we'll crack 50 eggs into a thing, and then you just drink that. I think that would work.
Oh my God. You would have to get me to like beer bong it all in one go because that shit is coming right
like
back up.
Oh yeah, no, I think that'd be great. How about like a 50 egg omelet?
Oh God, no. Oh God, it's making me stomach churn just thinking about it. I'm not the same.
How long would it take you to hard boil 50 eggs?
Hard boiling it isn't the issue. It's eating the hard boiled eggs that's the issue.
We'd have to boil as we go. We'd have to
God.
eat them, and someone is boiling them while you're eating. It would take hours, my man. I think you'd have to start with like a stock. How many eggs per minute do you think you could eat? Oh, I'm obsessed with this now. Cool Hand Luke was a great suggestion. I'm so glad you mentioned it.
I don't know where the fucking eating contest came from, but dude, I could realistically
think of the sweet views, my man.
Oh my God. Tell you what, because this is like turning into some Kenny versus Spenny shit or whatever. Like we gotta you gotta get in on this. I need.
Bro, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
How many eggs do you think? I eat eggs every day.
How many eggs? I can do. I don't know. I'd probably top out at. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Eggs are deceptive because I've made like really big omelets before, and like by the time I get to the end of it, I'm like not feeling that great. So
Yeah, I don't like eggs. I just eat them because I need protein.
oh, okay.
Like I lift. I do, squat, deadlift. Like I do like barbell training. I need protein. I don't like eggs really, but I eat them just because I have to eat them. Mm-hmm. Because they're like a relatively cheap source of protein, and I don't eat meat.
Right.
Like I eat eggs, but like I'm not out eating like actual like chicken and beef and pork and shit like that. So like I'm not a vegetarian per se, but like I don't really eat a lot of meat. But like eggs are I know they're meat people. Like don't at me. Bro. Like you know what I mean? Like, but I'm not like. I'm not eating. I'm trying my best. I know the egg industry is evil and all that shit. They throw the chicks in the grinder. I know, but like, we're out there. Eggs are still an evil that I have to conquer,
and we're gonna conquer them by eating all of them for the good of mankind.
How many do you think you?
I could probably.
Well, Cool Hand Luke. He
eats 50.
What would you? He eats 50 eggs. You think you can do it?
No. It's a movie. I'm sure Paul Newman didn't actually eat 50 eggs. I'm gonna be conservative here, and I'm gonna say I'll top out at like a little over a dozen, maybe. If I'm being
a dozen hard-boiled eggs, or like prepared in a different fashion.
I was thinking prepared in a different fashion, but yeah, I could probably do.
Well, dealer's choice. How many? Like what? How would you go? Yeah.
Hard-boiled,
how would you take?
I guess, would be the best. See, that's the thing is I don't usually eat hard-boiled eggs. I usually do, like, scrambled, but it might be easier to do hard-boiled. I'm just thinking about... See, that's the thing is, like, I'm so much older now when we talk about eating contests. Like, my normal, like, titanium stomach and lackadaisical attitude towards it, like... All I think about now when you're talking about that is just all of the calories and like the heart attack I'm gonna have like right afterwards or whatever from it, or the cholesterol.
I know you're not counting calories.
Cholesterol.
I know there's no way you're.
I'm not.
What have you eaten today?
What have I eaten today? Okay. Jesus.
Break it down for me.
I thought this was a movie podcast. Fucking.
It's a lifestyle podcast.
Yes. I had half a pizza.
Okay.
I had
because I don't want you to do anything unhealthy.
God forbid.
So I don't want to steer you off your current diet.
I had some fucking tuna salad and a cereal bar and a Pop-Tart. And
all right.
I think
all the major food groups.
Yeah.
The food pyramid.
Yes.
All represented.
You have the pop.
You got some dairy. You got some.
Yeah.
What flavor Pop-Tart? Was it a fruit flavor?
It was. So there you go.
All right, it wasn't s'mores or something.
Well, actually, it was 2 Pop-Tarts, and one was birthday cake flavored, but the other was fruit.
Okay.
So boom, that's two.
Okay.
Two. You got your birthday cake part of the pyramid and the other part too. So, yeah, that's all.
All right. Well, there.
And it was purple, right? Purple's a fruit.
Purple's a fruit.
Yeah.
In my book.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool.
Well, tell you what, we could watch the movie first, and
yeah, we'll watch the movie. We'll discuss it. Yeah, the whole thing.
We'll see how it goes for Paul Newman, and depending on that, maybe that will influence our decision.
You think we'll learn any strategy? I remember seeing bits of Cool Hand Luke on like Turner Classic Movies as a kid or something, but I couldn't tell you what.
Yeah.
My whole thing, I don't remember what happens. I know the basic plot, but if you don't know what happens, then you didn't really see it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like I feel like, and well, see, that's the thing. Like when you're saying like going back and revisiting things, like I had the same thing where it's like you have blind spots that you don't even realize are blind spots. Like there are movies that you're like, oh, that's a classic, and I've seen enough of it where I think I've seen it, but like then you go and watch it and it's like a totally different experience when you like sit down.
Right.
So
that's for me, that would be like Casablanca, which I've seen, like I think like I saw in high school with Mr. Stibe or something, and he made us watch it in history class or something.
Well, that's one I've never seen. That's I got a lot of ones like that. But it's the same thing. I'm not saying we got to do Cool Hand Luke or Casablanca or anything like that, but there's got to be something that's like fun that isn't like I don't know, Pretty Woman or something like that. I feel like I need something like a little less popcorn than say that, but like, you know, I could do something. I don't think I could do like a Top Gun or something like that, but I could do something adjacent to that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like Commando. Commando is one that I haven't seen in many years.
Yeah, just pick something that's generally known. I'm just trying to steer away from like obscure.
Yeah, no, I
mean?
feel that.
Where it's like, oh, I watched a movie that a lot of other people haven't seen.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's not really
exactly. And yet, they're especially when it's like a movie or a piece of pop culture, like, oh, that this was like the biggest thing ever, and we don't talk about it anymore, and it's basically what you're saying with Big, like where it's like, oh wait, this totally plays differently now that you're watching it in the current age that we live and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking, where I want people to go, what?
Yeah.
You've never seen Titanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you've never seen Star Wars.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how have you never seen... I want people to be appalled. I want people to look at every Ash movie, be like, what? Like, you're in your 30s and you've never seen, XYZ. You know what I mean? I want them to be like, ugh. So, I mean, mine are going to be pretty bad because... I think I've got a shorter list of good movies that I've never seen.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I've never seen Citizen Kane.
Okay, that's not a lot of people haven't seen Citizen
Kane. I think a lot of people haven't seen it, but for it's where it is in the pantheon, it's probably like, and considered that we kind of talk about movies, it's probably like, how have you not seen Citizen Kane?
That is a thing I've over the years I've heard that from many, many, many people. It's like I feel like that's.
I mean, you're all your film nerd roommates. Your
there's so many people that are like
they're probably just like, what?
Well, it's probably one of those things that kind of sucks. Where if you say that you love movies or whatever, or if you're really starting to. Especially if you're at that point where you're starting to realize that you really love movies and you get into it, and then like. If people start to know you as that, then people will be like, what do you like that's one of the classic, I guess it's similar to Casablanca, but I would say it's even worse in that regard because it did kind of, it was the first, it was so technically and stylistically like a vanguard and important in that sense. But truth be told, like it's I think it's a great movie and everything like that, but I don't hold it against anyone that's like, oh, that movie was boring, and there's a lot of things in it that are easy to take for granted because it's so commonplace now, but you can't really hold it against people if it doesn't connect to them or whatever. But same thing,
it's one of those like you ever see it on TV? It's never on TV.
It's on like
it's not like
AMC or something, or something.
Is it? I don't think I've ever scrolling through and Citizen Kane's on.
TMC, my bad. Different one. TCM.
It might have some weird rights. I don't know, man. I don't think it's as readily available as even basic cable. It might be tied down in some weird rights dispute or something because I've never come across it.
Yeah, I think, it's hard to tell. Like, I definitely associate it with like. Had to watch it in film school several times over, and like I think I watched it on my own, like a couple of times over the years too, because it is a good movie, but it's like, that's the thing about movies that are great though, is like everyone's like, cinema is everyone's own personal experience, and like everyone's got their own subjective opinion, and like that's the thing that's great about it is it's not one thing, but I think it probably would be good, especially for the purposes of this idea we're formulating. Is that's probably a good one to watch. Like I have a lot of classic movies like that I need to see that I haven't seen. There's some that like I really want to do that. Like I don't know if it's too niche, but like Robert Altman's supposed to be one of the best directors of all time, and I've the only one I've seen of his is The Player, which is a fucking masterpiece, I will admit, but I haven't seen any of his other. I haven't seen like Nashville or any of that shit, but there's got to be more like fun ones. I'm having trouble thinking of like, what's like.
Yeah, like Google like top 250 films of all time, like movies to see before you die.
Right.
Like I was having a hard time thinking. It's hard to think of movies you haven't seen. It's a weird thing to ask your brain to kind of pull up.
Yeah, like yeah, well, it also kind of depends. It might help if we, and maybe we can like decide to do it or not, but like almost like pick a era or vibe or something like that. Because like if you Google AMC or you know the Sight and Sound list for 100 greatest movies of all time, you're probably gonna get like Gone with the Wind and stuff like
Dark Knight #1.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's some people's opinion. It is the best, and I don't think they're wrong or anything like that. But yeah, that's the thing is like I've never seen Gone with the Wind. I probably never will. You know what I mean? Like there's certain ones that are like, especially when the big epic operatic classic movies that are a little bit, actually, you know what? Fucking maybe I need to give them a try. Like for instance, I've never seen both Ben-Hur or what's the other one with Laurence Olivier? The one that the one about the British guy in the Middle East, Lawrence of Arabia. Obviously, sorry, but yeah, I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, I feel like we need to find something closer to like a Terminator or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's why the 80s have been a great place for me to hang out because it's just over the top insanity. Speaking of over the top, have you seen Over the Top?
I have not actually seen Over the Top. I've
Over the
listened.
Top might be perfect.
Yeah, Over the Top would be great. You know what I just realized when you said that? I've never seen E.T. That's one that I've.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know.
Bro.
That's like fucking sacrilege.
There you go.
I'd
love to see eat 50 eggs, but if you can sneak ET in,
I'll eat 50 Reese's Pieces. Is that good enough?
I mean, that's not.
I might actually live through that if I did. I would like to not die from this challenge if it's possible. Yeah.
Well, could you eat 50 Cadbury eggs?
Oh, I actually might like doing that because I have a fucking weird addiction to Cadbury eggs. Yeah, I could probably do that, but I'm not gonna because I'm not trying to gain.
Would you rather eat 30 regular eggs?
No.
Or 15 Cadbury?
I would like to do neither, sir.
We'll put a poll out on Twitter and we'll let the audience decide.
Right. People decide my fate. How am I gonna die? Is it gonna be eggs or is it gonna be Cadbury eggs? Okay, yeah, I'm looking them up. Let me see. The Coming to America I've never actually seen before.
Oh my!
And the sequel's coming out soon, I think.
Well, that's why I was like, you're going to be all over the place because you have seen the most like weird, incredible, like underground, weird, crazy things that no one's ever heard of. And then you haven't seen Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
You know what I mean?
I like the deep cuts, but like there's certain like big blind spots that I've just never gotten around to.
Huge. Yeah.
I'm looking at Karate Kid. I don't think I've ever fully sat through Karate Kid.
Dude. Well,
Beverly Hills Cop, fucking. Oh, you know what I really want to rewatch that I actually love and I think is like a kind of masterpiece is if you're on a 80s Tom Cruise kick, Risky Business is like such a good movie that I haven't revisited in a long time.
You like Guido the Killer Pimp?
I love Guido the Killer. Are you talking about Joey Pants and his when he still had hair? That was like one of my favorite roles of his or whatever.
That's a very like weird movie where everyone kind of has that one scene and then they don't remember what the rest of the movie is about, but it's like a man is being basically held hostage and needs to pay a debt.
It's about
for a prostitute.
Well,
right?
It's about him like learning to become a pimp because he needs to. Yeah,
he basically steals a prostitute from a pimp and becomes her new pimp, right?
And she like she's the one that's like basically forcing him to do. It's not like he wants to become a pimp. She's just like
out of necessity.
Yeah, and
she's kind of upgrading.
She's almost like a fucking otherworldly presence because she like comes in. It's a really weirdly surreal movie at times. Like I I just remember that score, like fucking Tangerine Dream did the score, you know, their crazy weird 80s synth music or whatever, but there's like some weird, like, you know, hallucination, like, yeah, just weird hallucination scenes or like dream sequences and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I think everyone just like thinks of it as like a teen sex comedy, but it's actually like kind of dark and everything like that.
Yeah, that's one of those a movie a lot of people probably
They
falsely think they've
Yeah.
seen and they really haven't, or they don't. They remember that one scene where he slides across the room in his socks.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing they remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, one of those. Okay, I'm going through more of the list.
All right. Well,
Yeah, we'll figure it
start
out.
thinking.
We'll figure it out.
Put your list together.
Yeah.
I'm putting my list together. I'm gonna harass Nick. He's gonna probably try to figure out some movies. Ash's list is.
Is she just like a
know,
default? Can we
bounce.
just like make her the control?
She's the default.
You know, like she's.
Yeah, because that's basically she's like any movie we want to do, we'll just watch it with Ash because
Yeah.
she hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. You know what I mean? So, we're gonna be hard. You're probably easier than I am. I've seen I think everything you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've seen probably more of these. I'm struggling.
So
You know what I
so
mean?
we
Because
need to-
I've seen
yeah.
more of these.
There's got to be.
Because like I'll watch anything. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, there's got to be something. I mean, do we have to like, what? Do we have to like go into like Disney movie territory? Like, what are things that are like?
And anything that you could kind of goof on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Put a fun spin on. Like I don't think you're gonna have fun. Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Risky bit, Over the Top, E.T., Trading
Yeah.
Places, Coming to America, like any
So-
of those
so-
80 crazy Beverly Hills Cop. Like
Yeah, so
things
we should totally stick in the 80s. I feel like, yeah, that is like,
you can get out of the 80s. Just anything that would be kind of
yeah.
fun. I don't know how you're gonna like. I watched Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, no,
I watched Ben Hur.
I
Oh
agree.
man, Ben Hur sure was crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, cool. Well, I'll go through like some 80s, and you know, there's probably a ton of 90s movies that fall right in that wheelhouse.
There's just an endless amount.
We got to go like find all the shitty, like as we were talking about, of you know, Van Damme and fucking you know, what's his name, the Under Siege guy,
Yeah, I may go that direction because I haven't seen a lot of those. There's certain weird action movies that I just never saw.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah.
like, I've seen Bloodsport, but I've never like Commando. I don't think I saw Commando. So there's like certain weird like early. Is it Cobra with Stallone? I don't think I saw Cobra.
yeah,
like I know with Alyssa Milano. I know, is she in it?
actually
Or was that Schwarzenegger?
No, yeah, that's Alyssa Milano's in the Commando, and Flava Flav, the chick that Brigitte Nielsen is in.
Yeah.
Cobra.
Okay.
Cobra I actually kind of want to see because like from all the things I've seen about it, it's like, you know, Stallone had a period in the 80s where his ego was so big and the cocaine was probably flowing like fucking rain from the heavens, where he just like, you know, went full, like I heard it's like a camp masterpiece because it just like doesn't realize how batshit insane it is or whatever.
I am the law.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah, I'll totally watch that. Honestly, after that Rocky binge, I'm like a little bit more into seeing some of Stallone's other weirder output, you know?
Yeah, I thought you'd never want to see Sylvester Stallone's face again
No,
after the Rocky incident.
no, the Rocky. I still haven't seen Creed 2. I will.
Yeah, it's
it
fine.
burned me out on you know, new Rocky movies for a bit, but you know, I want to see. Or what's that fucking movie Stallone did in the 80s with Dolly Parton? That's like a country music. Like it's a musical. He sings and shit. It's like Rhinestone or something. Yeah, there's a ton of shit out there. We'll find some good stuff, and we'll have a few hours of entertainment at Ash's expense. Unfortunately, we'll drag Ash into it with us.
Yeah,
if she wants it.
no, she'll. Yeah, we'll find some combination where, you know, either you and me and her, or three of us. Who knows?
Get Nick
We'll
in
find
on it or
some
something
weird.
like- yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. That'll be the way to go.
All right.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Well, there you go. We got plenty of stuff out there. There's boundless opportunities. Check out Solar Opposites if you guys are so inclined. It was a fun little time. Hopefully we, intrigued you a little bit to give it a shot. I don't know how much push you probably need from people like us.
Yeah, but it's nice to know. Kind of get a little window on just what to expect. And
hard R. I don't know if we talked about how hard.
Yeah, I mean
how hard it is.
Same thing. If you've seen Rick and Morty, it's not the same, but it's definitely expect that level of grotesqueness at times.
Yeah.
And
but
watch Quibi for the next 5 days before they run out of money and go bankrupt.
Primary stockholder over here. He owns 50% of the stock.
It's just me and Jeffrey Katzenberg sitting in a basement together, and him crying.
Katzenberg's just texting you, trying to buy out your, trying to sell you his shares.
We just bought ad space on gas station TV. It'll be great. This company's going to be going places.
I guess, can you watch an episode while you fill your tank?
Honestly, it probably wouldn't be a bad. We might have just struck gold.
If you have a Ford F-150,
hold on, I need to get Katzenberg on the phone. We might have just saved this company.
You've done it again.
Done it again, damn it. Dave, you beautiful bastard.
All right, well, there you go. Well, enjoy that, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Keep an eye out. Top Gun's coming. Top Gun is coming. It's been an incredible labor of love as I go through and do the insane Top Gun research. So that one's coming out. Nick's pounding out MMA content. The coronavirus hasn't stopped human cockfighting, so we're gonna go ahead and just keep cranking out that content. As the great state of Florida has somehow allowed that to happen. And soon Nevada will too. So I think fights are going to shift back to Nevada. Who knows? Nick and I are working on something for the NFL. We're doing this weird NFL post where we were going to go through every single game and predict it. And we got halfway through the season. And we were like, I don't know what we do. Like, we were trying to figure out what to do with it. You know what I mean? So keep an eye out. It may be coming. It's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. We're not going to change our picks or anything. So it's kind of like, it's not really time sensitive.
Exactly.
Football is not happening around the corner. Yeah. And if half the league gets drowns or contracts the coronavirus, maybe those picks will be disrupted. But probably not. You know what I mean? So. Hang in there for that, but keep an eye out. We'll just, we'll keep keep making.
We got shit in the works. Don't you worry. Much like Quibi, we've got a queue of interesting content ready to go. We are not flailing or struggling or nervous at all. We are totally fine. So just remember, all is fine. To all of our stockholders, all is fine. I got to make some phone calls. And maybe trade some stocks, but everything's fine. Just to remember, everything is fine.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Thank you again. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.